I'm John Berman, live in Brooklyn. An intense manhunt underway for the gunman who opened fire inside a subway car. It happened right behind me. Police are looking for this man, Frank James. They are calling him a person of interest. If you have any information, call 1-800-577-TIPS. They're looking for him because they found identification for him in a U-Haul key at the location of the shooting. Joining me now is the former Director of Intelligence Analysis for the New York Police Department, Mitch Silber, and CNN law enforcement analyst Jonathan Wackrow. He's a former Secret Service agent. Mitch, I just want to start with you on this manhunt. As I watch these streets get more crowded, as I watch more people go into the subway station behind me, how much of a risk is it that there's a guy out there on the loose who opened fire on a subway?
It's a real risk, John. I mean, this is the thing. We've got students going to school. We've got commuters coming in. And essentially, you've got this man on the run who, at this point, we don't have a lot of information on. So I think at this point, commuters are wary about getting on the subway. And NYPD is doing their best effort, and FBI, to try and find this individual.
And Jonathan, what are they doing right now?
So listen, right now, we know the name of the person of interest. So investigators are going through, they're looking at all the digital evidence that we have on this individual. We know that there's been social media postings that have actually telegraphed some potential violent tendencies of this person. They're going through and they're doing a link analysis of everybody in his known network. Detectives are making outreach to all of them. Listen, the reality is we're just shy of 24 hours from this incident. We have an unmitigated threat that's out there in the environment right now. This is priority number one for the NYPD, is to find this individual and take them into custody.
Mitch, what do you think the biggest clues are right now?
Look, I think the fact that we've got this information about the U-Haul in many terrorism-type investigations, having the vehicle and the person who rented that vehicle is connected to it has been key. Times Square, 2010, Faisal Shahzad. We had the vehicle that was there that led us right to the individual. 1993, World Trade Center. The U-Haul underneath the World Trade Center, the VIN number brought us back to the rental location, brought us back to the person who went to get their deposit. So if it is Frank James, who is the individual who carried out the attack, this information is critical. However, if it's not, if he rented the vehicle and it's some secondary individual who carried out the attack, then we've got a lot more work to do.
How far, given that this happened 24 hours ago, given that it's been 12 hours or so since the name and picture were released, how far could a person of interest like this go?
Listen, he's mobile. We know that he was able to get away from this site in the moment of confusion yesterday. There is a potential for an individual to get far away. You look at the environment. New York City is a great place to hide in plain sight, but they also have, this individual has the NYPD after him, right? And this is closing in very fast. I would predict that this person will be in custody by the end of today, because we know that this is priority number one.
The videos, social media postings connected to this person of interest, Frank James. He talks about homelessness. There are some racially charged statements on this. He talks about potential violence. I mean, how much of a clue or how can investigators use this?
It's critical information, and intelligence analysts at NYPD, at the FBI, are poring over this information. They're trying to identify if the individual who posted this information appears other places on the internet. I mean, at this point, you've got different mediums. You could be in Facebook, you could be in YouTube, you could be in other locations on the internet. Or is there connectivity under other names, other identities? And does that give away what his plans were before this attack and what his plans were after the attack? Because if you look at this, he came into this very well prepared. Multiple clips, fireworks, gas mask, grenades. It looks like he planned more than just this one attack.
It's that part right there that I find so interesting. Clearly this was planned. I mean, he had, what do you have, a hatchet? He had gas, he had fireworks, he had multiple magazines.
But just to follow up on what Mitch was just saying, the Secret Service has done a study on mass shooting attackers. 75% of the time in their study, they had seen that somebody had telegraphed or had concerning communication in advance of an attack. And we're seeing this. We're seeing this, this violent tendency online, his comments, his posts. That's why at the top of this segment, your comment was very important. We need the public's help. Yeah. And you see something, say something, call Crime Stoppers. if don't be ashamed to call at all if you just see a clue, something you want to raise, because that's going to be that one piece that may get this person into custody.
In your experience, Mitch, given that there was clearly a plan going into it, right, whether or not it was executed the way that he thought it was going to be executed, but given that there was a plan going into it, what are the chances that there was a plan for this point and beyond?
I think highly likely. I mean, the fact that he used these smoke grenades possibly could have been his way to sort of literally create a cloud into which he could disappear and make his escape. The fact that it looks like he prepared and wore this orange transit-looking vest. Again, something you would do to sort of blend in. People didn't look at his face. They saw, oh, there's a guy, orange transit vest, looks like an MTA worker. So he clearly, planned this out. Now, why he left his bag behind with some of his material, unknown. Maybe in the frenzy of the moment, it was a mistake that this individual made, and a fortunate one for us, that and the U-Haul key.
Yeah, look, Mitch, Jonathan, thank you so much for being here. I feel like we understand what's going on at this moment much better. And there is, as I said, a manhunt underway. As you're looking at these streets right now, there's someone on the loose who fired a gun 33 times on the subway right below us yesterday. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, back with me, Jonathan Wackrow and Mitch. Gentlemen, I don't know if you could hear the mayor just then, but one of the things he did say was that there's no specific reporting that he can tell us about that there was anything more planned than the attack on the subway. He basically said they have no reason to believe that whoever did this had more in store. How does that strike you?
I think it's just a conclusion that we can't really jump to make. As we've talked about, he brought this arsenal with him, an arsenal that suggested that he was planning on committing significant violence. So the fact that he made that preparation for his escape, preparation with more ammunition, preparation with more grenades, suggests that there may be more. Now, we don't know at this point. And one of the things that has to be run down, and the fact that he left his bag there with his material may be a significant disadvantage for him going forward, thankfully. But we just don't know at this point.
So the mayor, Jonathan,
yeah,
still being careful in the definitions of person of interest and suspect. Frank James is a person of interest, not a suspect. But the mayor blurring the lines a little bit, making clear that he wants law enforcement to apprehend, was the word he used, this person of interest, Frank James.
Well, listen, I think right now in the city of New York, Frank James is the number one most wanted person, right? Because that's the point that we know. That is the known entity. From there, we have to talk to that individual. The investigators have to get to that person. You had described there's a discrepancy, right, in some of the facts, the height, the weight. We have to adjudicate that very rapidly to find out who was the actual perpetrator of this crime, and is this, to Mitch's point, is this part of something larger? We have to mitigate this threat as fast as humanly possible.
All right, Jonathan Wackrow, Mitch Silber, thank you so much for being here this morning. Really